All right, we are live. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to another week of Shabbat Anything Goes. So glad you are coming on and joining us.
It is exciting. Hopefully you are in a cool place. I'm grateful to be sitting in air conditioning right now.
Yes, it is sufferingly hot outside, and unlike, it reminded me of my time in Florida.
It is pretty bad. I feel really badly for my dog. Like I've hardly taken him outside for the past few days, it seems. It's just too hot. I don't want to go out there.
We've done early and late walks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't go out and really do anything until after 7, it seems.
Right. Welcome to everyone who's just joining us. We're glad to have you here. Feel free to say hello in the comments so we can greet you. Hi to Jay. Glad you're here.
We always trust Jay. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being a regular viewer of Anything Goes. And today we have a really interesting guest with us, Josh Lowenthal, who's going to be joining us in just a bit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that conversation with Josh. Are things pretty quiet over there at the temple today, Eric? Or
it was a pretty quiet day. You know, everyone's working hard. Jackie is, you know, plugging away at all the billings, and we're learning a new software here for our accounting. So that actually everyone will be able to sign on to their own accounts. We're on a new program called Shul Cloud that we're going to unveil to the congregation soon. So that's kind of exciting, but we need to make sure that we're really efficient at using it, and so we can help people out if there's any issues.
That's great.
And working on all the advertising that's for upcoming for the high holidays and Torah Center and September's newsletter, the Kol Yisrael. So everyone's working hard.
It sounds great.
How have things been in the Brown home?
We are doing pretty well. We are grateful to have air conditioning. We're doing okay. We've got college prep going on here. Joanna will be leaving for Oregon in about a month, so that's
what I was going to ask. Okay, so
yeah.
That's great.
That is still our plan. Joanna is still planning to move into the dorms, and we'll see, how things are for her classes themselves, but she's planning to be in the dorms.
Great.
Yeah.
And we've had another busy week at the temple, full of different activities. I hope some of you are able to join us online Monday night when we had our reopening task force forum discussion. If you weren't able to see it live, we sent out a link in today's email, and it is on our YouTube channel. So hopefully you can tune into that to see some of the plans. We're actually going to talk about some of our plans about reopening today. Just to give you guys a little bit of an overview. So that was what we started our week with. And actually we sent out a survey from the reopening task force, and we had a really good response from our membership. We had 172 responses to the survey.
That's wonderful. That's great.
Yeah. And everyone in general was supportive of what we are doing, as well as encourage the cautious approach that the temple has been taking in terms of looking towards our reopening and continuing to do what we do online while we get through this whole thing together. So
great. Well, thank you to everyone who participated in that survey. That's a really high percentage of participation. So that's great. I know that I have been very busy with some of our tourist center plans for the fall, trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look like. And we'll be sending out that email before Shabbat services tonight to all of our tourist center families with details about our virtual start to the school year. As you can imagine, we've decided to remain virtual for the time being, but we've created a really interesting and different kind of schedule for our tourist center students, and I'm excited to get it into practice.
I know my kids are looking forward to getting back, not surprisingly, but right, kids getting back to tourist center. But just the mere fact of seeing their friends, their temple friends on a regular basis, I think is such a healthy thing for them. So yeah. I know they're looking forward to that.
Me too. We'll be starting back on September 13th, which will be here before we know it. This coming Sunday, we've got our teacher conference, which we're doing in partnership with the Jewish Educators Association of Orange County, where there'll be about 100 teachers or so online for the full morning, attending different workshops and listening to the keynote, etc. So it should be a great start to our school year.
Excellent.
And what's going on with the High Holy Day preparation? I know that we sent out that email with a lot of the details, but what else is happening over there for High Holy Days?
I'm glad you asked. Actually, they had we've started basically it's a production. It's so we've started the filming and audio recording. We had a crew together that were all safe and safely distanced but setting up a film crew, and Paul Levitt headed that up, and Cantor and David York were in recording music, and we're filming that. There's music that's going to be distributed to the choir so that they can do their singing as well. And so we're going to have a really, I think, what should be a nice, interesting mix of live elements to our High Holiday services, and some pre-recorded elements, and then group discussions and forums. So I know the task force is really working hard to make that experience, even though we all know it's going to be a different experience. It's not that feeling of 500 people in our sanctuary together. Right. We're really working to make the feeling familiar, and really try to make our services something that people expect and that people get comfort from, and then also looking at opportunities for people to interact with each other as well as they would for the High Holidays. So there's a lot of planning going into that.
Sounds great. Yeah, and I want to be sure to thank Cantor Haas and Rabbi Fox and David York and our lay leaders who are working so hard to put this together. We know that it is taking a lot of effort. So thank you all very much. And yeah, I'm sure it's going to be great.
I got to get my shofar chops up for the shofar choir, and see if we can get that together too, to have that for the holidays.
Yeah, Eric, maybe also decide if you want to do a little cameo as the apple as well for our.
I thought you were gonna ask that, so I'll make sure that the High Holiday tomato, as people call me, is ready to go if you want.
For those of you that are watching who have not attended Adventure in the Park the past few years, our family Rosh Hashanah program at El Dorado Park, Eric has so kindly dressed up as an apple and has led us, has started us off on our Tzedakah walk, and lots of people like to take pictures with him and make jokes.
Yeah. It's just as if your Fruit of the Loom underwear has come to life, and there's the apple. So, and then our community continues to get to know Rabbi Fox. We have the meet and greets, which are continuing on a weekly basis, arranged by our transition committee. And then also we started a new thing that was also in today's email, and it's on Facebook, and it's going to be on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, but Ask Rabbi Fox. So if you have a chance, you can take a look at that question and answer. It's just a short snippet. I think it's about 6 minutes long. But if you have questions for our new rabbi, you can feel free to email the transition committee at titransitioncommittee@gmail.com, and they can get your questions on the air, or they can ask the questions and film Rabbi Fox's response. And then also Rabbi Fox is going to be doing a longer interview with Adolfo Guzman Lopez, who we've had on our program. Everyone knows from NPR and from his work in radio. And that'll give people a chance to also get to know Rabbi Fox. And I'm sure Adolfo's questioning and just interview will be something we'll all want to take a look at. So
that's great. Yeah, I know that so many people want to get to know Rabbi Fox, and without the more informal gatherings at the temple, it feels a little harder. So hopefully these will be opportunities for people to interact with him virtually and just get to know him a little bit better. Thank you to our transition committee who's working so hard on that.
Yeah.
We're also
everyone's
busy.
doing.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's everyone's planning these different ways to try to get out information to everyone and try to share, and everyone's been very adaptable to the new normal and to doing these Zoom chats and meetings, and so really give credit to our transition committee for taking this on and thinking of some new creative ways for us to get to know our life. For sure. And then, similarly, we've been doing our Joys of Jewish Learning movie discussions since March virtually, like this, mostly on Zoom, and we've had some really great participation. And we have our next movie discussion next Wednesday night on the 26th, I believe that is, where we will be discussing the movie Good Trouble, the John Lewis documentary. I'm excited to announce that Rebecca Dollinow will be facilitating that discussion. She is a professor at Cal State Long Beach and a congregant at Temple Israel, and she's excited about that program. So be sure to view the movie in advance of next Wednesday, and then join us on Wednesday at 7 p.m. for that discussion about the movie. That sounds great.
Yeah.
And then I know you're also planning, there's the whole JJL year is still in planning right now.
Yeah, it's exciting. People are replying to me. A lot of speakers are willing to do things virtually in the fall, and we are putting some dates for the spring, tentatively in person, with the hope of being able to be in person, but with the backup plan of being able to do them online. So yeah, it's exciting. Some other community leaders, some programs that we were not able to do in the spring, we're going to be able to, this past spring, we'll be able to do this coming year. I'm looking forward to it.
Great.
Yeah.
So we are a busy temple.
Lots going on. Well, I know that everyone probably is excited to hear from our special guests. Not that they don't love hearing from us. We know you all do, but it really is about the guests. So should we go ahead and bring Josh on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'm on here.
Hopefully he's still there.
Yeah, I see him. We're waiting. That would be a bummer, wouldn't it? You have to all hear us for the next 45 minutes. Okay, here we go. Bring him in. Well, I know that everyone probably is excited to hear from our special guests. Not that they don't love hearing from us. Hi, Josh. There you go. I've heard my voice.
Yeah. Hi, Josh. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Welcome to Anything Goes, Josh. We're so glad you're here.
Well, thank you for having me. And, any way I can be closer with my temple family, it's an opportunity. So miss everybody. So this is nice.
Great.
Wonderful.
I do have a bio of you that we kind of stole offline, and I enhanced a little bit with some things. So just so for the people watching, I'm going to give, gonna tell them a little bit about you, and you could always add anything that you feel is better said. So growing up and working throughout the world, launching and growing multiple business ventures, volunteering in his community, and raising 3 children has exposed Josh Lowenthal to life's challenges and taught him many things. Foremost among them is that creative solutions are born not from recycled ideas, but from broad experience, collaboration, a willingness to embrace innovation, and that standing up for yourself and others is a crucial public responsibility. Despite coming from a family of elected officials, Josh trailblazed his own path as an entrepreneur, consumer advocate, and business owner. With a long, successful track record in tech and telecom startups, Josh has traveled to nearly 100 countries around the world to understand consumer needs across variable markets to grow his businesses. Josh is the father of 3 girls, Olivia, Raquel, and Violet. He's a Torah Center parent and actually grew up here at Temple Israel. So we'll find out more about that as well. And we'd like to welcome Josh Lowenthal to our program.
Yay. This is when we have like the clap track, you know, the applause.
Oh, we
track.
need to add that. We haven't done that. We need to start, we need to add an audio engineer.
Right.
That's what we, so.
Yes. I have someone in my house who might be able to do that for us. Well, welcome, Josh. We're so glad you're taking the time today to be with us for Anything Goes. Tell us, how are you doing? You know, we know things have been certainly very strange during the past number of months for all of us. How has it been staying at home? How's your family doing?
You know, the knee-jerk answer is that I'm COVID good, which I'm sure you hear or say, which is a relative response, right?
Right.
I am well. My family is well. My children are well. You know, very fortunately, there's nobody in my inner circle that has been that's lost their lives or been affected by affected too much by the displacement of COVID. So on that end, you know, things are wonderful. And it's been a long road. I mean, it seems like years ago, you know, the sort of COVID world. And for me personally, it's just been an incredible journey of self-reflection and reprioritization. And so to that end, I've been able to look at this time as a gift and really setting the stage for life going forward. So, you know, trying to see the glass half full.
Right, right. How's it been parenting? How are you keeping those beautiful girls of yours entertained?
Well,
busy.
Look, you know, all parents that have been going through this, you know, we got caught with our pants down, so to speak. I mean, I don't know anybody that had designed to homeschool their kids the way that we all have had to do, and including as far as Temple is concerned, and Hebrew School is concerned. But you know, that's been a gift as well. You know, again, having to press the pause button on other things because our children, for all of us, are our number one priority. And to the extent that we have the capacity and the opportunity to be able to do that, you know, it has been something. So I went through an evaluation, which led to a bit of a career shift and the ability to take some time off over the course of the summer. And personally, I took advantage of it. Without summer camps for the girls, without the ability to be involved in activities, without sleepovers, without so many of the things that normally they get to do and occupy their time, which they're happy to do, we did road trips, you know, COVID-safe road trips. And instead of getting on airplanes and going to see exotic things, we saw America. So I'm blessed on so many levels, and among the many reasons is because my girls are close with each other, so they had what to do with each other and to play with each other, and so it's been a tremendous bonding time as a family, and I'll never ever forget this time.
That sounds so great. What were some of the highlights of your travels?
Well, we bubbled with 2 other families and did a rafting trip in Idaho, which normally we would have flown to, but in this case we drove to. So the process of seeing America and driving to the great state of Idaho, which for any of you who have never been there, go to Idaho. It's really something.
Is that the
Heard
Snake
it's
River?
Well, as a
it's
matter of fact,
beautiful.
I'm wearing,
Oh, this,
you may think I'm getting a commission, but I promise you I'm not. The Salmon River.
the Salmon River.
And actually, it's like going down a raft, it's like going through a painting. I mean, it's really spectacular beauty and really, really something. So that was a 10-day trip. We did 2 separate houseboat rentals on 2 different lakes. We did that on Lake Mead and we did another on Lake Shasta. Again, driving to these locations. We Airbnb'd at Lake Arrowhead. We spent some time in Baja, California. So we really spent a lot of time together. And the other thing we've been doing is hitting the beach, playing tennis, getting out, you know, being active, doing what we can. And so it's been fun.
Sounds really great. Like you made the most of it.
It's like our own private summer camp.
Right.
Right. It's great that you were able to do that. I know we took our kids to Utah, and just it was a similar feeling as just needing to get away and explore and drive and just be someplace beautiful and different
and not think about the madness. You know, part of the world that we live in today is the you know, instant information that's literally put in front of us all the time, notwithstanding this Facebook Live, which, you know, enables us to connect with our community members, which is a gift. But, you know, sometimes it's nice to unplug and not have the news forced down your throat all, you know, 24/7, to see these stats and figures, which are beneficial to us to be able to make proper decisions and to help protect each other in a public health crisis. But, you know, it can bring you down. And so you got to do the things, you got to breathe, you got to get out, you got to, you know, have some fun.
Right.
And that can be done in a safe way, and encourage everybody to do that.
Absolutely.
well, speaking of sort of kids and having fun, and you have a long history here at Temple Israel from the time you were a kid. What are your memories of the temple from the time that you were young? And is there something that sort of stands out to you? And were you a troublemaking kid in Torah Center, or were you you know, what's your memories of Temple Israel growing up?
Boy, you know, sure, there was some trouble. There was some fun. There was a lot of studying. You know, the great thing about the culture of Temple Israel really hasn't changed. I have to say that. I remember it being this way when I was young. It was always light. It was always fun. It was never meant to be an environment where kids or families felt compelled to be a part of at all. And so, you know, for kids, you know, that's a lot of freedom. And so, you know, exploring and, you know, playing hide and go seek or ditch them inside the temple, those are most fun memories. And, you know,
There were there were hidden staircases before, and
oh, yeah.
and good places to hide in the old buildings. So.
Oh, you have no idea. I mean, you really good stuff. And, you know, the leadership at that time, you know, celebrated us. They wanted kids to be kids. And that's not to say that Hebrew school was not taken seriously. Of course, you had Martha Pozalski and Rabbi Kelter. I was bar mitzvahed by Rabbi Kelter. Actually, I had the unique good fortune of being bar mitzvahed by 2 rabbis, by Rabbi Kelter and by Rabbi Brown. Rabbi Kelter had already been retired at that time, but had a very close relationship with my dad and my mom. My dad played tennis with him on a weekly basis, and so cajoled him to come back.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And do my bar mitzvah as well, which he shared with Rabbi Brown. That was in 1982, so I'm dating myself here.
Okay.
And anyway, you know, the environment then was a lot like the environment now. And so, you know, for me as an adult with my girls, there was never a doubt to want them to be, you know, have similar experiences. it's a blessing to still, be here and be a part of it.
It must be kind of fun to now see it through their eyes.
It is. It's really fun to see it through their eyes, and it's really fun to see them developing relationships with their classmates. And I have to tell you, Jason Metalcats, Yaron Tellem, Michael Shireen, these guys were in my bar mitzvah class, are still my best friends.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Spread all over the place, right? Michael Shireen lives in Copenhagen. Jason and myself and my brother and another friend went to Europe last summer to celebrate his 50th birthday and had a big party there. Jason lives in Berkeley, and we're as close as can be. Yaron was at my home last weekend with his son, and our kids are growing up together. So the relationships, from Temple are so meaningful, especially in Long Beach, which does not have this massive Jewish community. And so,
Right.
When you're growing up in public school in Long Beach, you can feel a little isolated. I did, especially at times around Christian holidays and so forth. And, or when I would be asked to stand up and explain a Jewish holiday in front of, kids was a daunting thing. And so, having other kids that I could identify with and be myself and celebrate and really, that's when you could really let your hair down.
Right.
So seeing my girls establish the same things and talk about it with us, like that's as cool as it gets. And my bar mitzvah class was, we were really tight. Almost all of us went on to confirmation class by choice.
Nice.
So, I just hope that whether it's happening real time or quite possibly whether it happens later in their lives when they look back and realize the foundation that they have, that this is truly a meaningful experience for my girls. So.
Yeah. Beautiful. So nice. If you have any of those old pictures of you guys, from your bar mitzvah class and a current picture, send them to me. We'll have to post them on our Facebook page.
Lots of big hair and bell bottoms.
That's great. So, speaking of your childhood and your parents, we know that you are the son of very politically active and minded parents. And given the current circumstances, how are you feeling, about things kind of looking forward without getting too political? What are your thoughts kind of about the current climate and the need for people to get involved and vote, et cetera?
Well, let's talk about my parents for a second.
Okay.
So my parents come to elected office from an uncommon path. They both are psychologists, actually.
Right.
So my dad was a professor of psychology for 25-ish years at Cal State Long Beach, and my mom also taught Cal State and Long Beach City College, and for many, many years a marriage and family counselor. And so, they have a different skill set. They're tremendous listeners, which, we need a lot more of these days, right? On both sides of the aisle, as far as the climate is concerned. In fact, as I think of it right now, as far as Temple is concerned, way before they were in politics, they did counseling at 10th grade retreats at Camp Komarov.
Huh.
They would do sort of group counseling and family counseling within the community as volunteers for Temple. What are my feelings? My feelings are that what we have right now as a culture is untenable. I don't really feel like casting blame is part of that. I don't know how much of that has to do with the human condition versus how much of that has to do with a lot of rapid and tremendous changes that we've had in technology, where you have sort of groups that by any measure had been considered fringe now are able to bubble more into the mainstream, by the use of technology and the use of the internet. And so there's a lot of confusion. associated with that, and there's a lot of bravado that takes place, and people engage and say things about each other, post things about each other in ways that I find, repugnant personally. I think a lot of people do. I think it turns off a lot of people out of wanting to be engaged. I think it makes people feel like it's okay to say horrible things about anybody on either side of the aisle. And we've got to change that. I think that there just has to be a stop to it. And I don't have the exact answer. I do know that we may need to, address it from a policy standpoint. There's many countries where you just don't have the same level of protection in First Amendment type rights when it comes to, lying about people or not having the ability to commit defamation or otherwise. And I think, we have those types of protections in the United States, and I'm not quite sure that that's not taking us down all the way. So I don't think that you should just be able to say anything about anyone simply because they are an elected official. And so I would like to,
or just throw the word allegedly in front of it, right? If you're like, then all of a sudden it becomes okay, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not okay. It's just not okay. And so I think that we have a lot of challenges on that front. I think we have some challenges as well, because I think that there are a lot of people like myself that believe in consensus building, and that we need to have some degree of moderation, and that the answer sometimes lies in the middle, or should lie in the middle, simply because, that's how we, find people to be the happiest, is that they're not, disenfranchised by the process itself. So, it's going to be interesting what happens to, is there finally an appetite for a third party or a centrist sort of point of view? It seems, in my recollection, I can't recall a time in my life, and I just turned 50 years old, where we've had the outsides running the show on both sides of the party. I'm personally a Democrat. I identify more with left of center. But as I look at it systematically and institutionally, I definitely have concerns that the far edges of the right and the left are sort of driving the dialogue completely. And there doesn't seem to be a fight for the middle going into a presidential race that I'm normally accustomed to. So
right, if anything, right, it's pushing people more to the fringes, or that there is no discussion, there is no compromise. What we thought that government was supposed to do, as far as work together and compromise and work things out together, it seems like all votes right now are one side or the other, and that's the only way.
Totally, man. And we all know that every single one of us there's no two people that are exactly aligned on every single issue completely. And we know that on a macro scale. We know that on a micro scale when we're making decisions at Temple. I mean, sure. and it's okay to have differences of opinion, and it's okay to try and come together and find consensus and things. So we need to take stock and inventory of what we've created here, be humble about it, and together figure out a way out of the morass, I believe.
So you ran for political office not too long ago. I'm assuming things have actually changed just in that short time. But is that something that you'd be thinking about a future for yourself as well as pursuing, or to have your voice heard in this discussion in the political front?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I've had a really wonderful run in international telecommunications, and I got my graduate degree in international affairs, and was fortunate enough immediately to get out and start working internationally in telecom, which is an international business. And so I started working in Latin America, ultimately worked in Africa for 10 years, owned my own carrier business in West Africa. and found it to be, truly fulfilling. And I really enjoyed being the only member of the family that was not in public service. As a matter of fact, many of you know my brother Dan, who's a judge. So it's not just my folks. He is truly a public servant, and he tries criminal court cases, some of the most heinous crimes. But getting back to your question, I never intended to do that. I had moved to Orange County in 2012 from Long Beach, and really just going down PCH about 7 or 8 miles. And it was a dramatic shift, culture shift. I found it to be, a little scary in some ways. I live in Huntington Beach right now. And at the time, there was an assembly member named Travis Allen who was saying things that I really, didn't like to hear. And, felt very motivated at that time about to run for office and make a change. And I think that seeing what my parents and my brother had done and the positive effect that they had made on their community, and done so without, ego, and without, doing it for the right reasons, like, really, wanting to be policy folks and effectuate, make people's quality of lives better. So, I thought I could do the same thing and help, make a shift over here in Orange County as well. And it was hard. I loved the process. I did not cross the finish line. Again, as a Democrat in a very deeply red district, came very close. And now I want to buckle down on being a dad. Especially now as a single dad, and really spend time with my girls. But it's an interesting question, Eric, because once again, especially now, everything that we've seen with COVID, everything that we've seen with the big demonstrations that have been taking place, and I think everybody kind of realizes the dramatic effect that it has, the types of people that we're attracting to public service right now. And I hope that there are people that may not have considered being in public service and running for office because of how difficult it is, because of all the things that I spoke about earlier about, all the tough stuff that gets thrown your way online and so forth, and how challenging that can be, especially when you have kids. But I'm hoping that there's a change, and that we rediscover the nobility of public service, that we attract good managers, good people, in different walks of life. So yeah, I hope I get another opportunity to do something like that again. There are a lot of areas of policy that would be really meaningful for me to work on, especially as a dad. I think about issues about privacy. I think about some of the things that I see my girls doing online, and I worry that they don't have intellectual property, nor do I, of their behavior online. I think about that as the next major big human rights movement. I think about things that I learned from my brother, criminal justice reform that's so badly needed. I think about a lot of things, and so yeah, I hope to have an opportunity again, and whether I do or I don't, I'm definitely going to be involved and try and do what I can to make some change.
Wonderful. Josh, someone commented on Facebook that she was a participant in the 60s in some of the small group sessions that your dad did for teens at Temple Israel. She remembers them very well, she says.
Yeah.
Nice.
Any other comments online?
Just some greetings, but that one, it was Ruth Cooperman said that she has fond memories of being in the sessions with your dad. She said it was a very 60s touchy-feely kind of group. He was great at it, she says.
Josh, we know you're in a new venture in terms of work. Can you let us know a little bit about that? And also, based on, from hearing you talk, you have such strong convictions. how do they affect how you are with your, at work and with what you're choosing to do? And do you find that there is a melding of your thought process and your convictions and how you lead a company as well?
I think much like at an environment like Temple, there needs to be a celebration of a diversity of opinion, not just a diversity of background. And, I have always wanted to be in an environment, whether it's a circle of friends or activities that I get involved in, or certainly, my career, be involved around people that I can learn from. And so, it's nice to be around like-minded people. It's also nice to be around people that have a difference of opinion. And, ideally that's not a shouting match, but you can really listen to each other. So I don't see that as being a deal breaker in a work environment of not having somebody. And in the business world, remember, the incentives are not always kumbaya, right? The incentives are really extracting the most value for shareholders. And in the context of that, having certain principles and certain morals that you adhere to. And a lot of times that's, good business, not just, helps you sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you can have all those things. I certainly strive to do that. And so, in that regard, I feel good about the choices I've been able to make. And, the best thing to do in any type of situation where you find friction or conflict is to talk and be open about it and be honest about it. And so that's that. Yeah, as far as work is concerned, telecommunications is, the dirty little secret about telecom, everybody, is that telecommunications actually does well in crisis. There are some businesses that actually do that. We're speaking on Zoom right now. Back in my role as the president of freeconferencecall.com, we actually built the audio network for Zoom and had relations with them.
I was wondering if you were at Free Conference Call, would you have been permitted to be on this Zoom format?
Oh, of course, absolutely.
I went to college in Boulder, Colorado, which is where Celestial Seasonings, the tea company, is made. And they said that you could not mention the word Bigelow because that's, the Bigelow was their biggest tea competitor. So, we couldn't have any Bigelow in Colorado. So I wasn't sure it could be on Zoom and
mention Free Conference.
What's interesting about Free Conference Call? I'm so proud of the work done at Free Conference Call, and I remain a shareholder of the company, and I think what's going on there is unbelievable. There are so many, I don't know if you know this, Sharon and Eric and everybody listening, there are so many in the faith-based community that leverage and utilize Free Conference Call as a mechanism to pray together for, and you're talking about organizations that don't have budget, because what we're doing is Facebook Live, so that's broadcasting in one direction. But when you do something for thousands of people where they're all participating at the same time, the serving costs associated with that can be very expensive. The Orthodox community all over the world utilize Free Conference Call, but it's massive in Christianity, Islam, and so on and so forth on a global scale. And so, just having the knowledge that, working in that way is giving people the peace for them to be able to be productive in their lives and in their families and their relationship. That's good stuff, really good stuff. So I'm really happy for all the work that we've been able to do over at Free Conference Call. It's about 40 million people who utilize that service. And it's has video, but is much more audio centric. So it's different than Zoom. It comes out the marketplace a little bit different. Right now, I just began a new role, and that's inside a mobile phone company. and that's called Mint Mobile, where Ryan Reynolds, as a matter of fact, just took a 25% stake in the company. So we've got some star power.
I heard he doesn't have any money though. I heard he
He doesn't anymore. He's spending on us. Yeah. And
does he give you free gin also, or now he sold his gin company?
they
So
just sold the gin. Wow, you're on top of it, Eric. That's
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, that was the joke, because he sold it for 600 million. So I figured that he had, he may have some pocket change to buy some other things.
Yeah.
Someday your girls will find that very exciting if they don't already.
They may already find Ryan Reynolds exciting. So.
I mean, I find people like Ryan Reynolds and LeBron and, others that have really kind of figured out the secret sauce of building a brand, leveraging that brand to build another brand.
Right.
That where they all work in concert with each other. It's really quite something. And so this is another experience for me where I'm getting the opportunity to learn tremendously. My role is not with Ryan Reynolds, unfortunately, but I'm building a business within the business that has to do with the T-Mobile and Sprint merger, where all of these small mobile companies that used to be on the Sprint network now need to find a home on T-Mobile's network. And so it's trying to bring them underneath the Mint banner. And so that's what we're working on right now.
Very nice. Nice. Josh, your proud mom is on watching us, and she's told us that we should ask you about the class that you taught about Israeli-Palestinian relationships.
Oh.
When was that?
Thanks, Mom. She's returning the favor. I used to do this whenever she would speak publicly. Ask her questions like this. Love you. Love you so much. Before I answer this, I really need to say, and I know this is a small, tight group, it's hard when you haven't hugged your mom in 6 months.
Yeah.
And I have had such great parents, and I love them so much, and I miss that. And so I love you, Mom. I would say, on that question. So about 7 or 8 years ago, a buddy of mine who's Palestinian, and he and I used to debate each other on the merits of the peace process and the intricacies and the nuances. And as anybody can attest that's involved in that, the historical context associated with that. Not unlike all the discussion that we're having, in race relations in the United States and the historical context and how we get out of things right now. I spent a tremendous amount of time in Israel, actually, between undergrad and graduate school. Lived on a kibbutz, volunteered in the army in a non-fighting role. Worked briefly in an immigrant absorption center. Was on an ulpan, and really, in my 20s, and really loved and lived that experience. Was there while Rabin was assassinated, and and prior to that peace process with Jordan. And have that as my foundation, as my bedrock in how I view that situation. And my buddy, who's Palestinian American, who I love, who's my brother, has a much different point of view. And that's the sum of his family's experiences, many of whom still are there in the West Bank and in Gaza, and some of whom are here in the United States. And we loved the banter with each other and respected each other. And sometimes we do it in social gatherings, and people would say, you two should really do a class and teach this with others. And so thank you for reminding us all, Mom. That's what we did. And so we actually spoke to folks at a few various adult schools, adult learning and continued learning. And we kind of got on the circuit for some years and doing this class, and it was sort of a point counterpoint, Jewish Palestinian perspective. And it was fun. It It's really
That
cool.
sounds great. Speaking of Israel, when you mentioned that, I remembered about your business partnership with Sigi Rockman, who a lot of us know. He was a fan favorite in Temple Israel for cooking classes, and
right.
of course his restaurant Sababa. And you guys worked together. You had the nightclub together, right? Right
Called
there at
Saatchi.
PCH and Second, which looks very different now.
It's very different now. It's called Saatchi. It was named after my Labrador Retriever. And Sagi is a special human being. And yes, we definitely miss him. Tremendous. So I met Sagi at his bar and restaurant in Eilat.
Right.
Randomly.
I forgot about that. Right.
And I was actually at a telecom conference in Cairo. I then went diving in the Red Sea, came up through Eilat, went to his bar, which was called the Green Beach. And, we met it, we hit it off, we got really drunk one night together. And, you have these conversations once in a while, you connect with somebody, and he said his wife has an American passport and they want to come to the United States and no place. And I said, I think after 7 tequilas, if you come to Long Beach, I'll open a place with you.
That's hilarious.
And it actually came to fruition. So yeah, funny.
How long was Saatchi open? I don't remember.
It was a 5-year run.
Okay.
5-year run, and then we sold it. We did okay on the sale, and then they redeveloped the property, of course.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And then he opened up a restaurant across the street.
He opened Sababa, and now what he's doing is quite interesting. Israel is a hotbed for tech and app development. And he created an app which is called Better Chains, which supplies, guidance and supply chain management work for restaurants and bars that form chains. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've got a lot of connections all over, Josh. It's really exciting. Must be fun for you to keep in touch with all those people and hopefully someday travel again to see them all.
It is going to happen for sure.
Yes.
This is all temporary. I
Yes.
believe that firmly. We're going to get back to life. We're going to appreciate things on a completely different scale. Yeah. And maybe that's good for us, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it'll bring back permanently maybe the family dinners and things like that people are getting used to again, that they may have moved away from, right, for so long. So
great.
Nice.
Josh, you have a special greeting from Heather Rayfield, who says she knew you when you were little.
Oh yeah, our kids grew up together. Our kids grew up together. Heather's kids and I grew up together, and she may remember when I was in Israel that her younger daughter was in Israel at the same time. And actually, right when I got there and kind of didn't know the lay of the land. And by the way, for the record, I went to Israel in 1994 with $3,000 and lasted for 1.5 years.
Wow.
So there's that. And Julie Rayfield was on a kibbutz, and I went and stayed with her for a while. And she also, helped me get a lay of the land. And, you talk about network. There ain't nothing better than the Jewish network.
Right.
We all know that. That's why we're on this right now. And
totally. I love hearing all these old stories. That's super fun.
Yeah.
Sure. I feel like we could probably keep this conversation going for a lot longer. I do know we actually have a Tot Shabbat that's starting at 5 o'clock on Facebook Live.
Yeah, so we should.
So we kind of have to wrap up.
Thank you.
I didn't know they were going on Facebook Live also. All right, then let's do our closing questions, Eric.
Okay, so I don't know if you ever watched The Actors Studio, but James Lipton used to end his interviews with some questions for his guests. Just say what comes off the top of your head and have fun with it. So first question is, what is your favorite word?
Oh boy. I'm gonna take a pass on that. I don't know.
Right.
My favorite word is yes. My favorite word is
nice.
What's your least favorite word?
Maybe.
What sound or noise do you love?
I love the sound of a cat purring.
And then what sound or noise do you hate?
Of crying.
What profession other than what you do would you like to attempt?
To be a chef.
Wow.
And what profession would you definitely not want to do?
I would not want to be, I would not want to work in a prison.
And the last question is, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Boy, that is not an easy question. That you will find peace in all the concerns and anxieties that you've had during your life.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Josh, we want to thank you. And I guess it's my hope that all those concerns and anxieties that you know, that any of us may feel, that you may feel, that you feel like you're making a difference in the world, that you're actively helping to change those things that need attention. So thank you for all of your hard work in this community. And, you know, on behalf of all of us, I want to thank you so much for being our guest today and for sharing your passions with all of us.
It's the other way around. I'm thankful to you. I'm thankful to you, Eric. I'm thankful to everybody who volunteers their time on my behalf. And Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to you. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We're going to sign off fairly quickly so we can get our Tot Shabbat started. But if you want to see something totally different than this, join us for Tot Shabbat. And then later tonight for Shabbat services at 6 o'clock and our virtual oneg after that. And we look forward to seeing everyone soon. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thanks again,
Shabbat Shalom,
Josh.
everyone. Thanks, Josh. Shabbat Shalom.
Bye, everyone.